Let's continue our special focus on South Africa's university and colleges. The struggle for quality, affordable education has never been simple. There's no doubt the fees must fall movement changed the game in 2015, but some students say they still are not winning. Let's reflect on the twists and the turns. Reporter Michael Marillier joining me now in studio. So, Mike, government has poured billions into higher education since 2015, but still it's not enough, it seems, and there's lots of turmoil at our universities every year.
Yeah, that's right, Sally. You almost feel like we're back on square one if you use that notion of snakes and ladders. We seem to move two moves forward and then two moves back, all in the space of a few months. Although, let's be honest, thousands of students now have the opportunity to go to university when perhaps before 2015 that was not possible. Still, however, lots of turmoil on our campuses, and that has been very disruptive. So let's focus on some of the key moments from the past 5 years, just to give you a sense of where we're coming from. October 2015, those protests began at Wits University after fees were hiked by 10%. Jacob Zuma put a freeze on tuition fees a week later, in fact, Sally. And then January 2016, he called for a commission of inquiry, the so-called HEHA Commission. August 2017, so 18 months later, the report was complete and it was delivered to President Jacob Zuma. It included what was known as the loan proposal. So in other words, Sally, students would get income contingent loans. So they were guaranteed loans, government guaranteed loans that were given to the students, and they would have to repay those loans once they started to earn a certain income. So that was the proposal, but it didn't quite work out that way because, as you can see, Jacob Zuma decided to go public with his plan in December 2017, just before the ANC held its elective conference. And he announced that the country would get free education for households earning less than 350,000 rand per year. So effectively ignoring most of the recommendations from the Fees Commission. And lots of questions now, Sally, as to whether we would have these problems with the so-called missing middle if we had just stuck to the proposal coming from the Fees Commission. Perhaps then you would be able to extend those loans to more people and they would be able to get into university, and you wouldn't have these issues with historical debt and the missing middle, which of course is those people who earn more than 350,000 a year.
Yeah, and you know, I think that everyone would like free higher education. It's an ideal. So, in principle, the former president's plan sounded good. In practice, of course, it's just not played out that easily.
Yeah, absolutely, because the big snake in this game of snake and ladders, Sally, was the economy and the recession that hit South Africa in early 2018. Let's focus on that. So President Zuma made the announcement, and then a few months later there was a new president, that was Cyril Ramaphosa. And a few months after that, July 2018, we were officially in recession. Fast forward then, Sally, to March 2020, COVID crisis strikes, and that, of course, placed even more pressure on our economy. And then, Sally, the snake just keeps edging further and further down the board. March 2021, we're almost back where we started. More protests erupting at Wits to do with historical debt and, again, financial exclusion. In defense of the former president, you might say, though, even if we had that loan system, remember, Sally, those loans are contingent on students getting jobs and earning an income. And given where the economy is right now, it seems that is easier said than done. So stuck between a rock and a hard place. But one thing is certain, Sally, we need to try and grow the economy, because if we do that, government has more money to spend on higher education.
Yeah, absolutely. We do know the stats indicate that if you have got a university degree, you've got a better chance of getting a job, but there are still a lot of graduates who just cannot find work. And if they're having to repay that loan, of course, that only kicks in at a certain amount of income that they are getting. So you're right, it does exacerbate the problem. Well, it's going to be interesting to see what this task team that has got to come up with a solution, a long-term solution, is going to do. They've got a few months to deal with that. I'm going to be speaking to Professor Jonathan Johnson. I'm going to ask him what he thinks the sustainable long-term solutions to this problem could be. Thank you very much, Michael Marillier.